Hello and welcome to a video I've been wanting to do for quite some time now. You can probably tell what the custom is, but we're going to be starting with the retro Symbiote suit from Marvel Legends. It's pretty much the same body sculpt as the PS5 suit. Obviously there's a couple of minor differences, like that's the Renew Your Vows body mold, and this is obviously just the retro body mold. So some slight differences, but for the most part they're the same scale, they're the same shape. And it's a black base body, which means if anything does scrape straight through the paintwork I'm going to do, it should show back to the black. Yeah, as we normally do, hot water. I've got a nice big collection of different mugs now, and this is thanks to my birthday was last week, and two of my friends bought me mugs. One of them bought me multiple mugs, and one of them bought me a mug. You'll see one from one of them and one from the other in this video. But I now have an eccentric range of mugs, which I'll be using throughout videos. Anyway, I've obviously cut little bits out of here so you don't just see it sat in the hot water. Sorry, I'm so distracted by the cool dude mug, which is mad because I own this thing. Yeah, so I've cut the bits out, I'm just heating it up, just taking bits off so it's easier to paint. I did actually keep the legs whole, I just took the feet off and took them off the body. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm also going to remove the arms. Now I did originally plan on taking the diaphragm joint apart as well, but it was way too difficult to force apart, I didn't want to risk breaking it, so I just left it as one piece and worked around it. Now you can see here I was struggling to get the arms out. That's meant to be boiling water, so the fact that I can just put my finger in it and it's fine. Obviously it's not boiling anymore. So let's cycle out for another cup. Very accurate description of me. For the most part, obviously I'm not crazy. So, just dunking this in, I did use a tool to actually get those shoulders out. I think I used, it's like a phone repair kit tool, but it's essentially just a flathead screwdriver. And I just used that to pry under the actual socket and to pull it out. So now that we've got all of that separated, I can get to work on prepping it for the sculpting and the painting and just prepping it in general. So I've got my rotary tool here with a sanding drum that has definitely seen better days. And I'm just going to wear this down, just take back some of the paint, rough up a bit of the plastic. I didn't do this to the whole figure, I only did this to the body because the body's the bit that's going to have the most wear. It's the bit that needs more give now. So you can see I'm removing a lot of that ab definition because the Symbiote suit from the PS5 game doesn't have that. And I'm just trying to remove some of the like overly done musculature that you can see here. Just bring it back to a nice even shape, which is what we've got back here. As you can see, I've used a pencil just to kind of draw on the lines of just rough markings of where I'm going to be actually carving the shape out. And I am using a rotary tool again for this. I did use a mix of different cutting bits, but I found like ones with sharp points work best for this, just to get obviously sharp detail lines in. And then there is that weird bit where it's all wrinkly at the back of the neck, so I'm going to use a rounded cutting bit for that. I did use a sharper cutting bit than that one. In the end I went back over this just to give it a deeper texture, because that was a little bit rough looking for my liking, so I did go and give it a more defined shape to it. I've also done that with the feet. The feet I really struggled to get detailed images of, so I've just gone with the basic like concrete lines I could find online. And then you can see the legs, I've gone all out, done a load of that texture all over. But again, you can see that thigh is way too muscular for the figure we're doing. So I wasn't particularly happy with that. So I'm using green stuff, needle tie, whatever you want to call it, normally used for Warhammer. And I just slapped some on to cover that and then redid the actual line work for the suit detail. Those are the arms. I did plug up some of those peg holes with the green stuff as well, but you'll see that later. My mixing for the green stuff wasn't great. I did go and like scrape out the chunks that didn't mix up properly and redo it. Just in case any of you are worried that there's unset, like you can see the lighter patches, those aren't mixed properly. I did go and scrape this out and redo it. I must have been very tired when I showed the tool that I'm using to sculpt, because I showed the other end. The actual flathead screwdriver end is in my hand, but I'm using the flathead screwdriver to get these lines in, not a weird hexagonal end to a tool. But there you go, you can see the green stuff in those joints as well there. So I haven't shown this process because I wasn't even sure how I was going to do it, so I was not going to attempt to get it on camera. But yeah, I've basically covered the entire torso in green stuff, gotten all the detail lines in, and just used a flathead screwdriver to get it in, and then given it a nice white primer base coat. You will see what paints I've used. I always get asked what paints I'm using. You will see them in just a second. But yeah, so white primer, just standard run-of-the-mill Halfords primer. Now the way I wanted to get the texture is puffy paint. You could use any like thick acrylic, I suppose, but I wanted something that would have a little bit more durability to it, and because this is kind of rubbery, I thought it might. So I'm just sponging it on quite heavily, so you can see it's getting that weird wrinkly texture in. And this did carry through the paint. As you can see here, here's all the paint I used. But what ended up happening is I changed from this satin clear sealer that you can see on screen now to a high gloss clear coat, and the two didn't mix well, and it created that weird like wrinkling effect in the paint, which worked perfectly for this costume. So the fact that I messed up and it worked better is very rare. Normally I do everything by the books, or like do bits by the books and they go wrong. So the fact that I did it by the book and it went, or I didn't do it by the book and it still went wrong, but it worked well for me. Maybe the jank just worked for me here. But yeah, here's all the paints I used. That black Citadel paint was just for touch-ups. That matte black spray paint for the car was an absolute pain, because the paint I was going to use is the Rust-Oleum hammered metal that I used on my last Symbiote custom, the last PS5 Symbiote. Well, here you go, here's the painted version. And I'll take it off screen and assemble it with some hot water, different bits. But yeah, that paint was an absolute pain because the Rust-Oleum can exploded on me yesterday, which is why I have paint speckling all over my hands for the rest of this video. Oh, you can also see I did some separate hands that I had in my fodder box. Those nice like clawed hands going on. But yeah, that spray paint can exploded on me yesterday, and it's still out in the garden with a nice big metallic black patch on the grass. So I had to go for this instead, so I had to make a trip to the shops. Picked up a can, it was $3.99, he told me you need £5 or above for card payment, so I had to go and get a bigger can, and then I had to walk back in the rain because there's a storm over here. It was absolute madness. But it was worth it for this. I am so happy with how this came out. You can see that paint wrinkling effect that I'm talking about. I used blue tack to cover the white of the eyes, so that's the original stock white from the Hasbro figure. And because of that, there was no sealer on it, so the eyes have stayed a perfect smooth gloss. But the rest, where it's had that previous sealer on it, has fully gone wrinkly. It's done exactly what I wanted it to, by accident. You can see the hips come out a bit further than I would have liked. Obviously that's because there's green stuff on the hips and not on the middle abdomen section. You've got like, it comes out thicker, then goes back in, then comes back out again. Realistically, I'm not too bothered. The shoulder joints aren't perfect. I've not quite lined up the white of the actual spider. But the fact that this actually came out half as good as it did, yeah, I'm very, very happy with this. This is probably my favourite custom I've done, I think. This is the most involved custom I've done, where I've had to properly like rotary tool, sculpt, paint. That's it. But yeah, I'm very, very happy with this. The next like 3 minutes of this video are just me showing it off. Obviously you can still get into all the poses it could originally. You've got some slight limitations in the ab crunch now. And obviously you want to be a bit careful of paint wear and tear. But yeah, this right here is possibly my favourite custom. I am going to keep up with some Spider-Man customs from my analytics. You guys don't seem to like the other customs I do, like Iron Man customs, or anything not Spider-Man related doesn't seem to do very well. So we'll stick to Spider-Man for the time being. And I try to put him in here and compare him to the other two PS5 figures that I've got. So bringing back in that original PS5 Spider-Man suit and the Miles Morales, you can see they do they line up very nicely. They've got a good height to them. I will be customizing these two as well a bit more. But thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Phew.